Hello everyone, welcome to Study Table. My name is Swati and in this video we will be talking about version control. So before I start, there is a quick request that if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you do not miss any further update, and also I continue getting the motivation to create videos. Okay, so let's start the video now. What is version control? Version control is a system which tracks changes made to a file. Let's say you have a file and you have entered some data into it. Now you have changed that file, you have added a few lines into it. If you're not using version control and you're over adding the same file over and over again, so going back to the previous file will be a cumbersome task because you will not get the original file back, and even if you do, all the changes will be lost. So using a version control, what you can do, the changes can be tracked, and whenever you want to go back to the previous version, you can always revert. That is, whatever changes you make to the file, you can always come back to the previous file and check those versions. Okay, so this helps to track changes, as well as if you are collaborating with a team, then all the team members can always come back to the previous version and check out ki, okay, this is the changes made and who has made that can also be seen. Okay, so this is version control. Okay, so there are three types of version control that we commonly use. Number one is the local version control, second is the centralized version control, and the third is the distributed version control. Okay, with the local version control, what we can do is that we can track changes of a file locally. Let's say you have a file and you have made copies of it into your system. You have a file one where you have entered some data. Now you want to make changes to the file, but you have a fear that you may lose the content of the file if you make changes to it directly, or even if you want to change the file, then you do not want to lose the original file. So we create a copies of that file. So that's a very common procedure, but that helps if you do not have much file, but you have a lot of files. If you have a big project, then copying each and every copying each and every file will be very cumbersome. Okay, so you need some local version control that helps you to track changes to your file as well as keep those changes so that your original file is always intact. So locally we can use something known as the revision version control. Okay, that tracks changes as well as keeps them as patches. That is, whenever a new change is detected, then a new patch is created, and each patch will help you to track changes, and as well as the changes are recorded there. So collecting all the patches will create a new file. Change that you made to your file, that are saved as patches, and all the patches then they can be collected together and make up a single changed file. Okay, so you can always check, okay, which changes have been made by going through that patch. So revision version control helps you to keep track of your changes locally. But what are the drawbacks here? You cannot, you can work on your system, but there are always drawbacks because you cannot collaborate here to the team. You cannot give away your system to each and every person. This is the file that we are making, and it's difficult to collaborate in a local version control system. And since this is a single point of failure also, because if any point of time your laptop or your system crashes, then all the project is gone. Okay, so you need a system where you can also collaborate, and also there is no single point of failure. Okay, so for collaboration, the better is to use a centralized version control system such as CVS or Subversion. So what a centralized version control system do? That it is a single place or a server where all the repositories are saved, and there are if there are 10 members, then all 10 members can refer to that same centralized version control system such as CVS or Subversion, and they can work together, and all the changes can be tracked, as well as whoever is working on the project you can see, and whoever has made changes or whoever has contributed, everything can be seen in the centralized version control. Okay, but since this is also helpful for collaboration, but this is also a single point of failure, because having a server in a central position, any point of time the hard disk of the server goes corrupt, or if the server is down for a few hours, then in that particular point of time no work is done, and no of the team members can check the project, make any commit to it, and as well as they cannot have any kind of uh, interaction with the server. Okay, if any point of time the server crashes, Then what happens in centralized version control system, that we have snapshots of the uh, database that we have created there. So whatever snapshots, the latest snapshot every user will have, only that snapshot will be there. The rest of the things will be destroyed. Okay, so centralized version control system helps you, but it's a single point of failure. So what happens is that you need something where you can also it is there on the server, as well as if you have the copy of that on your system also, because at any point of time the server crashes, or if the version control sorry, the server doesn't work properly, or the server is down for, let's say, a few hours, then the work doesn't stop, and you have a full copy of whatever you are doing, and the work doesn't stop, and when the server goes up again, then you can make commits to it, and the project is again updated. So for that, we use a distributed version control system like Git. Okay, what is distributed version control system? Here we have a central repository where we keep our where we keep our files, and we can also collaborate there. But here snapshots are not saved here. Okay, what in snapshot, in centralized version control system, we have a snapshot of the database or the repository that we have. So the snapshots are not the full copy of the repositories that are there, but in the distributed version control, we do not just have the snapshot of the files, rather the whoever is using this centralized distributed version control system, they fully mirror the repository. That is the full history of whatever has happened in the past. So in case any server dies, then the systems, whatever system are collaborating with their server, then any of the client repositories can be copied back up to the server, and can be the repositories can be restored, because every clone that we take is a full copy or the full backup of the data that has been created in the distributed version control system. And one such example is Git. Okay, so Git is a distributed version control which saves the repositories, as well as we, whenever we clone it or whenever we copy anything from Git, then it's a full backup of the data that we have entered into it. So in any case the server crashes or dies, then the client data can be again committed to the server, and the entire history, along with the entire history which is there in the data, and the repositories can be repositories are there back again. Okay, so this is how version control helps, and Git is a very popular distributed version control which is very commonly used. Okay, so in this video we'll be talking only about version control. In the next video we'll talk about Git, the history, and why Git is so popular, and many other things about Git. So if you found this useful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you very much. So if you found this